Hi guys, welcome to Channel Cricket Vision. So here we are once again along with Ritik. He is from Wicket Whispers. Have a look at his channel as well. I'll give the link in the description. Right, guys. We are here. The BGT fever is still on. Test cricket, all around happening. So yeah. Firstly, this particular series 2-1. With all that had happened, at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG, things have actually not been that easy. It has not been all roses for India, to be very honest. It's been a tough time since then. But yes, to be very honest, is this a time to press the panic button? Because at the moment that we are recording the video, just we're just recording the video few minutes or rather few hours away from live action, right? So at the Sydney Cricket Ground. So what is the exact thing that we can expect? And most probably, I think Rohit Sharma won't be playing this game. Jasprit Bumrah, has been will look like he will be leading the side as far as India are concerned. And I think this is a direct question. I know you are a huge fan of Rohit Sharma, and myself as well. We have grown up seeing Rohit Sharma being that kind of a player. But to be very honest, has the baton been passed to Jasprit Bumrah?
Yes, I personally think yes. Looking at the scenario that is created, I think it has been passed to Jasprit Bumrah. I personally don't find it the right way because only last test was remaining. Anyways, he played the three test matches. I think he could have gone for one more test, but we still don't know whether he's playing or not, or whether of opting out is his personal decision or the team's decision. Still, we don't have clarity on that because, as we all know, Gambhir in the press conference hasn't mentioned anything clearly. But I think if it is his personal decision, I think he should have given him one more chance.
Yeah, I think definitely because this is a track that suits India, and most probably we have seen the top order not really firing, right? Especially in the last game, in fact, both the innings, the top order not firing. That has led to a lot of conversation about India's batting. Should there be a lot of chopping and changing in the batting order? There have been a lot of talks, right? So because post the halfway in the series, Ravichandran Ashwin as well announced the retirement, and there are always these talks, right? When especially a legend leaves the international arena, there are talks that and the team is also not performing to the best of its capabilities. Sometimes there are talks that there might be another legend who might retire as well. But keeping all that aside, Rohit Sharma hasn't been in the prime of, or rather the peak of his forms, or not had a good time. So what I personally think is that more than the batting, it is I think a lot of issues are there as well that India have to address, because let's take one issue. The first is that you play both Ravindra Jadeja and Washington Sundar, and Washington Sundar ends up bowling less than 10 overs in both the innings. So I think that is somewhere, something that the selection point of view as well comes into question. And number two, you also talk about the fact that, should he, Rohit, he's one of the best captains, you can see. But do you think that he might, have preferred to give more overs to both Washington and Ravindra Jadeja as well? Or do you think that has led to a little bit of confusion in the selection?
I think it purely depends. Yes, from outside it appears like that, but I think when he's out there on the field, I think these are very basic things that he must have taken care of. I think looking at the conditions that were, I think he at that time would have thought that it's better to go ahead with different bowlers rather than giving more overs to Washington. I think that's um, a very specific to that specific match, but I don't think that's a bigger concern. That doesn't arise any questions on his captaincy personally for me, because it was again a very strategic move, and you never know, because as a captain the point of view of a player is slightly different from us. I think that's again the personal call that he would have taken, looking at the conditions. But I personally think that's again not a big factor, keeping in mind his captaincy. But yes, I personally think because he himself is not scoring runs, I think that is somehow affecting his captaincy. That's my personal take on that, because I think on the back of his mind, always he has that thinking that I haven't scored enough runs. Pressure is on me. I have that responsibility. I think that pressure is somehow affecting his captaincy now.
Yes, I mean the personal performance as well. A lot of times you've seen has affected the captaincy as well, and the outside noise as well. You generally, I think, even a player like Virat Kohli has mentioned in a few press conferences that the outside noise as well. A lot of times has affected the performance of the players as well. I mean, it's cricket is always a game of confidence, right? A lot takes place in the mind basically. So mentally, if you're perfect, I think a lot of things should take care of itself, right? So in that regard, I think these are few things that India should look into. And do you really think that, I mean, if you could bring back Shubman Gill, should it do a lot of good for India, or rather, where do you think they will make the changes in the second Test match, considering that they don't play Rohit Sharma with whatever reports that we have received, in the last few hours of recording this video?
I think probably one change will be Shubman in place of Rohit, as you already mentioned. I think the other can be someone in place of Akashdeep, because I heard that
Akashdeep.
he's not properly fit. I think that's
Yes.
again that's the only changes. I think more of our, yeah, you can say that the team that played the first match could be similar to that, except Devdutt Particle, or yes, I think very similar to that team. But I personally think only these two changes, according to me: Shubman in place of Rohit, and probably Harshit in place of Akashdeep. I personally think that these are the two changes that they're gonna go ahead with.
Yeah, definitely. Good point that you brought in Harshit Rana as well. But will they be very curious to bring in the likes of Prasidh Krishna as well? Sure, could he be an option? Because for a fact that yes, this is the last Test match of the series, but with the height, with the bounce factor that you especially get in Australia generally, yes, we could understand that Sydney is very similar to Indian conditions. Not maybe the closest to the Indian conditions, if you could say, as far as Sydney is concerned. But yeah, I mean, what do you think Prasidh Krishna should be included?
I think it personally depends how he is bowling in the nets. I think this is something that obviously the coaches will have a better say on, keeping in mind who is looking in better rhythm, because Harshit and Prasid are somewhat similar, keeping in mind the stature and the hit the deck kind of bowling that these two offers. I think Prasid is slightly more quicker, but because he hasn't played even a single game, I think the slight edge will be towards Harshit Rana. I personally think that.
Yes, definitely. I think the Gautam Gambhir factor will also play a huge role in bringing Harshit Rana into the 11 as well. I mean, yeah, those things generally tend to happen, right? Like, these kind of things generally, because if we also seen that Harshit Rana in the first Test match has actually bowled well. So
Yeah.
keeping that in mind, I think definitely they will make that change as well. Personally, not talking from an Indian point of view, or rather as an Indian fan, I really think that India can make a comeback and try to reduce the mentality of Australia, or rather the confidence of Australia. They can try to defeat the confidence of Australia, because what I personally feel is that if you could just see the surroundings of Australian, generally the media, or rather if you could listen to the English commentary as well. What they actually say is, the likes of Adam Gilchrist, Mark Waugh. You keep listening to them. That thought process of not winning a BGT, right, or rather not being able to bring it back since 2014, I think has definitely hit their mind. Because time and again you have seen the commentators, generally the Australian media as well, putting a lot of pressure that right, it's going to be a decade if they don't get it this time around. So that pressure, I think, is constantly running in their minds. And if India can win 2-2 here, I think Australia might as well have a huge probability of getting or rather losing in Sri Lanka as well. What do you think about that?
Yes, could be the case, because we have seen in Test cricket, and especially in a tournament like WTC, momentum again plays a bigger role. When India entered into this BGT, they were three nil loss they had against New Zealand. So I think yes, momentum can play a bigger role, and obviously the thought of not winning a BGT in back of their mind can play a bigger role. But personally, I think I felt the same way when India was entering into MCG. I thought that India could have easily won the Melbourne Test. I think that this loss, specifically the loss of the fourth Test, I think has personally hit us very hard. talking about fans and talking about the team as well, because I think in that game we were in control. We could have easily won the game, especially keeping
Yeah,
in mind
definitely.
the
Maybe at
third
least drew
innings.
the game. I think that would be a better way to say it as well. A draw was in the cards.
Yes. I personally think yes, draw obviously. Keeping in mind specifically fourth innings, yes, draw could have been the best possible result for India. But I personally think that partnership as well of the last wicket costed us the game. That was a mental blow for Team India, because anything that's over 300 on when you're chasing that in the last day, obviously will keep you on the back foot, and especially against a bowling lineup like this. Obviously will give the opposition a better edge. But yes, talking about this Sydney Test, I have one more question to you regarding the team as well. I think this is one thing which I skipped. There were a lot of questions on Rishabh Pant's place as well. What are your thoughts on that? Because the way he got out on both the innings again,
Mhm.
both were different events altogether. Especially the first one when Sunil Gavaskar as well had an
Mm.
outburst in the combos, and
Yes,
especially I
yes,
think the
yes.
more terrible way of getting out was in, I think, in the fourth innings. Yes, that's the way he plays, but again, he could have played a better shot. Obviously, we can say that in hindsight, and we can easily say from our houses in front of cameras. But as a player at that position, I think this was expected from him. What's your take on this, Rohit?
I mean, if you could ask me, I mean, yeah, you brought out the point as well that that's the way he plays, right? Like so, but to be very honest, I think a player like Rishabh Pant. I mean, let's be very honest. In the second innings, if that shot had flown a few yards away, I think we won't bring this point into discussion. Correct? That is how this game works as well. But I mean that has always happened in Rishabh Pant's career, right?
Yeah.
Like if you even talk about Gabba, right? He
Yes.
actually Gabba meaning not this series. The last time around when India won, when Rishabh Pant got that iconic 89 not out, he had stepped out and he had actually given a life. He was given a life by Tim Payne. Missed that stumping as well. I mean, if that stumping had been done at that moment, I don't think we would hype Rishabh Pant the way that we are doing him today. So in that regard, I think Rishabh Pant is a player who can desperately turn a game in a session, and most importantly, uh, I think we've also discussed this in the IPL reviews as well. Yes, this is Test cricket, but I think the X factor, definitely remains same in almost every formats, in my opinion. Because I think that if you have an X factor player, let's take a very 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 good example. Maybe in the opposition, you have the likes of Travis Head. He hasn't got runs in the last two innings. But do you think Australia would drop him, or rather, maybe the question is that the way he's got out, maybe that is the point of debate here. Maybe more than the fact that he's not got runs, it's about the way he's got out. I completely get the point, but I do think that players like Rishabh Pant, Travis said, if you're gonna let them play their game, they're gonna win you 4 out of 10 games. Single-handedly, I think 4 innings out of 10 innings, they are going to steal the game away from the opposition. And Rishabh Pant is more than capable of doing that. He's done it on several occasions for India. So I don't think that should be a matter of concern. But actually, after looking at the press conference, we actually got the clarity as well. That actually the team were looking towards a draw. The that was the plan initially. That's what the press conference suggests us. And also for a fact that Gautam Gambhir had mentioned that players who haven't stuck to the team's thought process will be dropped from the side. So that is one thing that we have discussed as well. So yeah, I mean, I think in that regard, if they drop Rishabh Pant, I think it's going to be a huge loss for India. I don't see India doing that, and if India are going to do that, I can assure you one thing: they're pressing the panic button, because that's not the right thing you do. Because I what I think personally is players like Jasprit Bumrah, Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant, they are the fulcrum of the team. You cannot drop them at any cost because they are going to get you runs. They are, the top, let's say, if not the most experienced, the experienced lot of the unit. In fact, if Ravichandran Ashwin had played this series, I think his name would have also come into the contention. So these kind of players, in fact Ravindra Jadeja for that matter as well, these kind of players, they know, they have been in that situation, they have done that in the past. So I think it's not right to drop them, and that's what they give, right? At the end of the day, I think a similar answer. I think a lot of people have asked me this as well. That what is the future of Rishabh Pant? I mean, that is a similar answer that I give them. It's a matter of few inches. Maybe if it would have hit a little, the middle of the bat, that would have flown all the way. So yeah, I don't know whether I've answered your question perfectly, but I think yeah, this is a question that it's very difficult to answer, right? Like from the team perspective.
Yes, I think I personally as well have the same way of looking at it because Rishabh Pant is a player you don't want to lose. As you rightly mentioned,
True.
the name of the few you want to give them extra backing, especially if it's Rishabh Pant or either it's Virat Kohli. Bumrah doesn't need it definitely because we haven't seen that loose patch of him. But yes, definitely, I think personally I was not really mad at him getting out in that situation. But looking at that shot specifically, I think that was a half-hearted shot. He was in the middle of
Mm.
defending or for a big hit. I think that's why I got little angry as well at that shot because it was a half-hearted shot that he went for because I think he was trying. He
Oh,
was that was going on his head whether I should hit him, whether I should hit him, and finally after he saw a half striker, it was a half-hearted shot and he got out. I think that's why he was also very disappointed by himself. If it was a full-hearted slog on the onside, he could have easily cleared the rope. Yes, it was
clear. Yeah.
MCG, but I think he has that caliber of playing these innings. But yes,
True.
I'll agree with you that Rishabh Pant should be there, not only in this test but in the upcoming series as well.
True. And I mean, as you got the point, I mean, nothing much to discuss for Australia as well. They'll be really confident for a fact that, they're going to be, they're all obviously, 2-1 up in the series. They're going to come in confident. What is your prediction, Ritik? I mean, going into the game, I personally feel the conditions favor India. So India, I think, hopefully will come up trumps because I think when always, if you could see, every time India has put down, they always come up with that reply. And India are known for that, to be very honest. So in that regard, I definitely think that India are gonna, bounce back because we've seen, from 36 all out, the way they came up, out of nowhere, winning the series. I think that is the spirit that Team India shows. So in that regard, I think I'm really confident that India will make a comeback and retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So what do you think?
Yes, I would be really happy if that happens, but I personally think the other way. My gut feeling is
Okay.
saying the way momentum is with Australia, and especially with their top order as well, which has started to perform with Sam Consis opening the innings. I personally think that Australia is gonna win this series as well. That's my personal predictions because I think momentum, the way it has carried,
Mhm.
especially after the CG victory, because I think Australia that was for the first time in the last few years I've seen Australia
True,
being
true.
defensive. So
Yes.
even when they decided to bat long, I personally thought in the fourth day that at least for the last 10-20 minutes they are going to give chance to India, but they didn't do that, and I was personally very happy because I clearly understood
It
that
was a
they are
blessing in
also
disguise. It was a blessing in
yeah.
disguise because instead of playing 110 to 112 overs, India had to just play 90 to 92 overs, right? So that has actually been a blessing in disguise, which India, I think, would end up rather. I was definitely expecting them to go for a draw. I think it would have been an easy draw, to be very honest. Because at one point, as you mentioned, nearly with 38 overs to go, I think India nearly had 6 wickets in hand. When Pant and Yashasvi Jaiswal were batting together, they were looking really good. So yeah, I can continue.
Yes, I think that's why if they can bounce back from that situation, I can't find any reason at this moment that they are not going to win this last test as well. I personally think that, and more importantly, I think at this moment, Team India is not in the right environment. That's a bigger
Mm,
part that can play with Rohit not there
true,
and the
true.
team environment. I personally think that
Mhm.
Australia has better edge in winning the series.
True, but one thing that makes me to continue backing Team India is that you always have the likes of Virat Kohli and Jasprit Bumrah. I think they're it won't be wrong if you could say that Virat Kohli would have a major a part in guiding Bumrah as a captain, right? So I think if Bumrah is going to captain, obviously he will have the influence of Virat Kohli as well in his captaincy. So I think the aggression, the field set, I think it's going to be really attacking. I mean, if you have seen Rohit, the way he's captain, if you could see, them getting if the batters get a couple of boundaries, you see the field getting spread. But I don't think
Yeah.
Virat Kohli is that kind of a captain, or rather, not Virat Kohli, but his guidance will. Be slightly more influential in setting an attacking field as well. So yeah, hopefully, I think India that is one factor that makes me think that okay, Virat Kohli, trying to win the test match, or rather his approach. I think if you have to put it in one word, the approach that he takes. Or in guiding Bumrah is something that because Bumrah as well looks to be a similar kind of a captain, similar to very similar to Virat's ideology. So hopefully, I think that is the only thing that is keeping me confident in backing India in this particular game.
Yes, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
It's,
Rightly said,
it's
definitely.
Yes, I personally think I personally don't care a lot about BGT. I want India to be in WTC. Yes, because BGT happens every 2 years, I guess now. So
True, true.
I personally want India to be in the finals because with now South Africa in one position, I personally think it's a chance for any other team, either it's Australia or
True.
India to win WTC. I personally think that. Yes, and if Australia goes into the finals again, I personally think that they're easily going to win the second WTC.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no second thoughts about that. If they can get through, I think Australia would be a favorites. Definitely, once again, another ICC tournament, another time Australia getting through. But once again, if India could somehow
Yeah.
manage. It would be really good. But Ritik, do you really think that this is a question? If you could look it from a neutral fan perspective, right? Like if you think it from a cricket fan perspective, do you really think India deserves to get into the final? I don't think. See, this is a question that few people have asked me as well. And one instance that I recall is that if you could remember in the first WTC cycle in 2021, New Zealand had actually got through to the final. They were nowhere in the scenario. One demerit point for Australia ensured that New Zealand had actually qualified to the final. So, I mean, if Sri Lanka can whitewash Australia, India can get through, and most importantly, India should win the Sydney Test as well. That is something that we are talking about. So I think that is a possibility. We as Indian fans want that to happen, as you mentioned. But do you really think after getting whitewashed at home, do you really think India deserves to get into that position?
Yes, I personally think they should. I think they deserve because the way they have played in Australia, except that pink ball test match, I think they have played good test cricket. Yes, we lost in MCG. Yes, the match was drawn in Brisbane. But I personally think overall, if I see all the teams that have played in the last 2 years, I think India should be in the top two spot at least. Yes, because South Africa as well, they lost one series against New Zealand. So I personally
True.
think
Yeah.
it's not a big difference between India, Australia, and South Africa the way they have played. Yes,
True.
Rohit.
And another point as well. I mean, I think overall ICC should also change the way
Yeah.
the WTC cycle is made because Australia, or rather, beg your pardon, I think South Africa have played 12 test matches, I guess, and they
Yes.
have actually played I think easier opponents, to be honest. I think they've
Yes.
played a series with Bangladesh. They've played another series with West Indies as well, if I'm not wrong, and now they're playing Pakistan. So I think they have had easier games, and the likes of England, India, have to play tougher opponents because
Of course.
the Ashes is there for England. India have an away BGT that is happening. So a lot of factors matter on that as well. So what do you think? I mean, I think this has been a talking point for the last couple of cycles as well.
Yes, definitely. I think if you see India's qualification, even in the first, it was dependent on the BGT. And I
Yeah.
personally think, yes, this should be taken in charge here. ICC should look into this matter and should find a better way to plan the cycle, because South Africa, if we see their qualification, yes, they've played good cricket, but to be honest, I think the only challenge they had was against New Zealand when they traveled and they sent their B
Yeah,
team because they were having C20 at that time. Except
true.
that they played India in South Africa. So again, I will not consider that as a big tour for them, and it was only a two-match series, and that was drawn.
Yeah,
So except
true.
I don't think, as you mentioned, really that South Africa didn't had a good competition against them, especially in a difficult condition. So I personally think yes, this is something they should look into, because I think Australia, yes, the way they won in the second WTC, yes, they deserved it. But as you rightly mentioned, New Zealand, New Zealand, the way they qualified and they ended up winning in England, it was not right from neutral point of view, if you say. So I think yes, and even there are talks about having a three-match series to decide the WTC, and I think that's a
True.
far-fetched dream at the moment, looking at the calendar of all the teams. But I think still, as you mentioned, I think at least they can do is make it more balanced in terms of the series that all the teams are having. They can be that can happen, I think.
Yeah, I think that should. I think yeah, as you mentioned, it's a far off dream, but yeah, hopefully ICC looks onto it and makes a decision. But yeah, I think as you mentioned, if India can pull a victory, it's going to hit Australia mentally, and even I'll tell you something, Ritik. I don't know for some reason. Personally, if you ask me, even if India don't get to the WTC final, right? At this moment, what personally I have a feeling is that if you can, draw the series and retain the BGT, I think it's going to affect Australia more mentally, and I think India have won. India have won the BGT in my opinion. Because as an Indian fan, I can assure you that pre Virat Kohli era, right? Pre Virat Kohli captaincy era, if you could talk about, if you had come and told, if anyone had told either of us that you're getting into the final Test match of the BGT in Australia, and then you mentioned for a fact that the series is still alive, one win, and you can retain the BGT for almost the 10th year consecutively. I think the fifth time consecutively you can retain the BGT. I think you both of us would have taken it wholeheartedly. Like any Indian fan out there would have. It would have taken time for them to believe that 10 years down the line, Australia haven't touched the BGT, that is the Border Gavaskar Trophy. I think that is something that time and again I keep thinking that okay, you can tell your future generations that there was there was a time period when it was India who completely dominated the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of one game, and if they can do that, you never know. India have all the chances to get into the WTC final, and more importantly, I think Pat Cummins as well will have this one factor in mind. I know how many people are talking about it. There are a lot of instances. If you could see, he's managed with Travis Head. If you could see, he's tried to bowl Travis Head and Nathan Lyon due to the overrate factor.
Yeah.
And the overrate factor was something that had actually not led Australia to the finals the first time around, as we have discussed, correct? So we will have that in mind as well. And yeah, if things go India's way, I think yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes, I think yes. I think this is the same point that I was discussing with Rhythm as well. When we were having this topic about India versus Australia, we were just looking at the scores. I think we have seen that whenever the top order of Team India has performed, 9 out of 10 times India have ended up winning that match. And I think if either one or two batters from the top three can score 50 plus or centuries, I think India can definitely win this game and again put Australia on the back foot. So yes, I think top order can make a difference here, because I think the bowling unit of both the teams are doing the job. Middle order is I think more or less equal. If I see Australia and India, I think it's the difference of the top order.
Yes, definitely. I think Virat Kohli once again. I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully, when India when India actually are in trouble once again, time and again we have
Yeah.
looked at Virat Kohli. We are dependent on Virat Kohli to do the job. And hopefully, yes, the top order as well. We could see the return of Shubman Gill as well. Hopefully, he delivers this time around. And we've seen him in, deliver in Gaba as well, right? In the fourth test, the previous time. So yeah, a lot of memories get to that once again. But yes, I think hopefully if India can deliver another victory, hit Australia mentally, and if they can retain the BGT, I think that is a huge victory for India from the position that they are in. And before concluding this video, just one more topic I just want to touch around is that how do you see the phase that India are going through? Because India are definitely going through the phase of reconsolidation, the transition phase that they're going through. What do you think should be the changes? In my opinion, I think Jasprit Bumrah should become the captain, but there are a few other things to that as well. There are two parts that I can talk about. Firstly, Jasprit Bumrah leading the Indian team. I really think that the white ball formats, he's going to play the important games. Maybe let's say that he's going to play ICC tournaments. On the other hand, as far as the red ball is concerned, he's going to be perfectly, going to play every test match. That's what I personally think. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, you could go. I mean, there are reports surfing in as well that if you could, there is a senior player who's very much interested in captaincy and very much there to lead the team from this scenario. And if Virat Kohli, a player like Virat Kohli, if you're going to tell him that okay, there is one more cycle you're going to play till 2027, maybe in both one days and T20s, or rather one days and tests. It's going to be really helpful to give that one last go to Virat Kohli. Okay, fine. Maybe try to redo the things, or rather bring the results that you have given in the past. I think that should. I think I know you're a huge Virat Kohli fan, and myself as well. I admire a lot of his captaincy. A lot. In fact, I would say that he was definitely a better captain in terms of aggression, or rather trying to bring that belief around the team. I think Virat Kohli was a better captain, in my opinion. So, what do you really think, Ritik? I mean, what do you really think about Virat Kohli taking the captaincy? Or rather, you want Jasprit Bumrah to take the captaincy at this point?
I think at this point, I think Jasprit Bumrah is probably the right person according to me, because I think if Virat takes on the captaincy here, it will just delay the process. It will just postpone.
Mm,
I Inevitable. And I think that next cycle, even if Virat is there along with Jasprit Bumrah, he can equally contribute. I personally think that, and I
true.
think in the long term, in the picture, it's important for Jasprit to now take on the responsibility and to have that experience entering into the cycles or any other big event as well. I think this is the right time now for Jasprit to take the captaincy, because I personally think even in the later half, I don't want Virat to be always under the pressure of captaincy. I want himself to
True.
just focus on his batting. And I think obviously being as a deputy there at this moment, if Jasprit takes the captaincy, he can definitely contribute in every aspect he could have done as a captain. I personally think now this is the right time for Jasprit Bumrah to take the captaincy if Rohit has decided.
Yeah, I think definitely in various aspects as well. I think you can groom Washington Sundar. You can, try to bring in Akshar Patel, because I think Akshar Patel has been really underutilized in the test format. Whenever he's got that opportunity, he's performed really well. He can be a straight and swap. I mean, straight and ready material for Ravindra Jadeja, right? I think in that manner, he's perfectly there. You can, build another fast bowling group. Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, Akash Deep, Prasidh Krishna. I mean, whichever name you take, Harshit Rana. You have Mukesh Kumar. So a lot of names that come into your mind. So yeah, I think this is the right way that they have to go through the transition. Backup for Rishabh Pant should be maybe Dhruv Jurel, Sarfraz Khan, KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, Jasprit Bumrah, maybe Jadeja, maybe Ravindra Jadeja, because we're not sure, how age is going to catch up, or rather, what are his future plans as well. So yeah, if you could add Ravindra Jadeja in the mix, these are 4 or 5 players that are going to stay. This the mixture of senior and youth. I
Yeah.
mean, both youngsters and these seniors. So what do you think? I mean, the likes of Yashasvi Jaiswal, Shubman Gill, all of these players.
Yes, I personally think that balanced approach is always the best. You want to have seniors along with the new players coming in to just pass on the experience. But as you mentioned, like Jasprit, KL, Virat, Pant, and probably one
Jadeja.
fast bowler as well. if Shami comes in. I personally doubt that whether Jadeja will be there in the next cycle. I personally think that this could
Okay.
be his last year as a Test cricket. I personally think that, but you never know. One good innings or one good series can totally change the perception. But I personally think these three or four players will have that responsibility of having a smooth transition from here. So yes, I think that balanced approach of having senior players along with junior, I think can take India to again a good position in Test cricket.
Yes, hopefully. I mean, let's hope that the BGT goes really well for India. They retain the BGT, and if they can retain the BGT here, I think India have done a great job. And even at this point in time, I'll tell you, before the Test match, that if you're going into the fifth Test, as I mentioned, without the series getting decided, I think India have done a really good job. Yes, the previous two times we have won there. Maybe that is the reason that it's we were slightly disappointed. Yes, but I think on the other hand, this is a good job done by India. Not their best, maybe, but more than a decent job done by India, if I could put it that way. Any concluding
Of
thoughts,
course.
Ritik?
Yeah, yes, I think I'll just add on to the same question, same point that you made. Because at the start of the series, most of the experts, whether it was Indian expert or Australian expert or even neutral expert, if we see there were some comments from English commentators or English experts as well, most of them predicted that the series is going to be 4-1, 5-0, 4-0.
Mm,
So very few who anticipated that it can go till the last test match. So I think yes, keeping in mind, and I personally as well thought that Australia are going to easily win the series. So yes, I think it's still, I think India have played better cricket than what was expected. Yes, I think that's how I think we can conclude this.
yes, definitely with Virat Kohli and Jasprit Bumrah out there. Hopefully, India will, get the retain the BGT as we can expect, and the fate of India is not actually in their hands as far as WTC is concerned. But yes, hopefully, fingers crossed as an Indian fan. And thank you so much, guys. So it was a great time. Ritik once again joining us. We will get back we have so
Of
much
course,
content planned as well. Post the BGT, we have the Champions Trophy coming up, the IPL coming up. So a lot of content, and we look to post interesting cricketing topics as well. So right, guys. So for joining me in this video, and it was
pleasure.
a pleasure. And we will get back to you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.